So yeah, man, we back for another one. This is part 2 of the first thing that we was talking about, and I know we got into a lot of different things. But you were saying something before we left, and when we start talking off camera a little bit, I wanted to bring that back. As far as like how we trying to understand each other, because I know you were saying that, with this whole thing that black people see y'all as a whole, and then you guys look at it as an individual. Yeah. But like I was saying to you, is that the reason why we look at you guys as a whole is the same reason why you look. When describing black people, they look at us as a whole, which that doesn't describe me. I'm like, and it's crazy because we try to separate ourselves from certain type of black people, but at the end of the day, I know I'm black, and whatever a black person does or whatever they do, it does shed light on who we are as a people, but that doesn't represent all of us. Yeah, and I can understand where you're coming from is like as an individual. So they feel like if I'm not the one committing the act, I'm not wrong for not saying anything or not doing anything about it because I'm not the person that's doing it. Yeah. But I think that helps the problem because if no one says anything, that person is going to continue to act and do as he pleases. Yeah. That's just like at the police station. They're just an organized gang.
Yeah, and nobody tells the police shit.
They don't tell them nothing.
Yeah, nobody tells the police because nobody wants to be harassed by them. So
because they have so much, they run themselves like they the mob.
Yeah, they do.
They run themselves like they the mob. Yep. And like I made jokes about cops. If they pull you over now, they just may take your weed and they may smoke it themselves. You know what I mean?
They might.
They may do that. Yeah. But I'm just saying, as far as like being a black man in America, man, it seems like we always are under attack. And I just feel like for myself, I sit here and I watch it and I don't say too much because like I say, I understand that everybody's not like that. But at some point, this shit is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
This shit is getting ridiculous. And who's to say my time ain't coming for something to happen like that?
Yeah.
I worry about that. And I don't know how many black men that I may know or friends and stuff that feel that same way. But I know in my heart and the way I think, it's a possibility. And I know that I used to be out doing crazy stuff. From the grace of God, nothing happened to me. But, with my praying mother and my dad being around, I didn't make so many messed up mistakes, but I did do some things. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, just kind of enlighten me, but like how you think about the whole race thing and how black people feel a certain way or white people feel a certain way. It's coming from a white point of view. How do you see this race divide? Like,
yeah, man. No, that's a good question. I like our relationship, bro, because we can ask these questions. Like, we can talk to each other about everything, and nobody feels like any kind of way because we're genuinely want to learn. Like, we really want to know, and I think that's really dope. I think that's awesome that we have that, and I think that me personally, I've hung out with like my white friends, and we've talked about cultures as a whole, like the Mexicans down the street can do this, and I got this black friend that can do this, and he's got these friends that can do this and all that kind of shit. And we kind of do talk about people like that. Like, to be honest, we do talk about people like it's a whole, or like they're a whole versus looking at them like individuals. So it is a good point that you brought that up because I look at it like I do this shit too. Maybe I need to start looking at people like they're individuals, just like I want them to look at me like an individual, rather than having that double standard of just holding a different standard for somebody that's not in my culture, versus like I need to hold that same standard for like people, I guess, for everybody, because a lot of people are preaching the all lives matter, and they're preaching the we need to treat everybody like this. Like, it's turning into a whole narrative.
But see,
but the thing is, people aren't necessarily they're holding a double standard that everybody really just means us, and then it kind of means like we're gonna do what we want to do, and y'all can kind of just do what y'all want to do. Like, that's kind of what it seems like.
Well, it seems like to me with the whole all lives matter, nobody said it didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody said it didn't. What we're saying is mine matter too. Mm-hmm. So if I don't want my kid to be shot down like a dog in the street, just like you don't want your kid shot down like a dog in the street, is that hard to ask? Is that a problem? Because when you say these things, the first thing come out of mouth, well, all lives matter. Okay, we get that.
Yeah.
But when does it ever become something of a movement there that black people can hold on to that actually means something? Anything that we tried to build for ourselves, somebody tore it down. You think about it. In every instance that black men and women have put themselves together and tried to build, somebody came in and tore it down.
Yeah.
It's like we have been systematically oppressed for such a long time, is that the reason why we may do some of the things that we do is because we've been oppressed. We haven't had a platform. So now when we do have, and so it even comes down to the point of that we hate our own selves. Because we started believing the lie about this person is ignorant and bad. You have black men out here saying that they don't want to date a dark-skinned woman because they don't want to have black babies. Mm-hmm. That's a problem.
That is a problem.
Because they feel like they have disadvantages by being that skin tone. So if I have a fairer skin child, they have a better opportunity for success in life. That's a problem.
It is a problem.
Because I love my black skin. Mm-hmm. I love who I am. And I'm one of the first ones to always say, well, at least I know what I am. Because even when I was growing up in school, when I was going to school, they used to call me blackie, darky. If I pour water on you, turn to coffee, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't hurt me as much because I had tough skin and I learned how to score very well. And I could fight.
Yeah.
So when I start talking about you, I'm going to hurt your feelings because I'm going to get personal. So you could talk about my skin all day, but I love who I am. I love myself. But it's a problem when we look at each other as that we're ugly just because my skin is darker. Yeah. Or that means I'm going to do something to you or I'm going to cause harm on you because I'm darker.
Yeah.
That's not true. And I don't know if you know anybody who think like that, but I know even with roles, even being an actor, you get treated differently. You get looked at differently because the fairer skin is usually in the better parts.
Yeah.
But I have said too that the fair skinned people seem like they more militant than the black ones.
They're more militant?
Yeah, they more pro-black.
More pro-black?
They more pro-black.
Almost like they're trying to overcompensate.
Like they're trying to overcompensate for the having a little white in they blood. And I think a lot of us have white in our blood, but it may not show on me. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Because we all don't know what our blood been tainted with.
Nah, and we've been around for a long time.
We've been around for a long time, so you don't know what mixture of you got into you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just may be a certain percentage that may not show.
Yeah.
But that's what I think is so crazy because you have some people out here believing like they pure Anglo-Saxon. They just, I'm all white.
Yeah.
You may have it just like what people don't know Nixon had.
Yeah. And blonde hair and blue eyes.
Oh, yeah, Nixon was
Yeah, well, blonde hair and blue eyes doesn't necessarily mean you're all white either. Like people try to act like the whole blonde hair, blue eye thing is because that blonde hair, blue eyes, that's like the lightest you can get with the color of your eyes and your hair. So like they try to act like the blonde hair, blue eye thing is just so pure. And like even with girls and shit, they teach you that the blonde girls, the blue eye girls.
Oh yeah, it's always the blonde girl. Oh, that's the one that's so desirable.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's
true.
not.
Yeah.
I've seen some brunettes so fine.
Oh yeah, especially brunettes with blue eyes.
Yeah,
brunettes with blue eyes are pretty cute.
But I'm just saying, I'm saying is that's somebody's perception, and then they play this into the media and on TV as that's what beauty is, or that's what you should want to look like.
Yeah,
and that plays on these kids because, like I said, growing up, they didn't have black action figures.
Yeah.
They didn't have dolls that looked like me.
Yeah.
So I never played with them anyway.
And you grew up in like 90s. Like you
in the 90s.
You grew up like, because I remember I was a little kid in the 90s. I remember how raw and uncut the 90s were. Like that shit was raw.
Oh man, man. No people said whatever they wanted to say.
No security cameras, no cell phone recordings, nothing. You said what you want to say. You could fight in the parking lot. Like it was going down in the 90s, bro. People were saying whatever. Like,
and then people could do what they want to do and then change the narrative.
Yeah.
And change the narrative. And now, just like that movie, you remember Rosewood. I don't know if you ever saw it.
I think I have. Maybe.
Well, Rosewood about this town in Florida that where they had a riot go on because of a white girl said that she had got raped by a black man. And so the town went crazy and started looking for this black guy that was supposedly in town that raped this white girl. And they just started killing blacks. They went on a massacre, killing blacks and things. And the whole time the white woman was lying. And they knew she was lying.
Yeah, there was no guy.
But there was no consequences for the lie that she told.
Yeah, and she should have probably got a death penalty for
you caused so much death.
Yeah. You should
amongst a people.
Yeah.
And then turn around and nothing happens.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Just like I don't know if you remember the story about the lacrosse thing with the black girl supposedly got raped by the lacrosse team, or it was one that was a swimmer that I remember that the judge told him that he didn't know his action and I don't want to mess up his future, so he didn't even give him a sentence. He got a slap off.
Yeah.
And I don't know any black person would have pulled something like that and that would have happened. Just like the run on the Capitol. Everybody you're in the nation's capital.
Yeah.
Tearing down everything, doing whatever you want to do, and no one gets shot. Well, the one girl got shot.
Yeah.
You had a few casualties.
Yeah.
But as a whole, ain't no way a storm of black people could have did that.
Yeah.
No way. It would have been so much murder going on. It would have been ridiculous. They was open the gates for them guys. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a totally different standard.
Yeah.
And so when we say white privilege, it's just things that you're privy to that we're not.
You're just talking about the double standard.
It's just double standards.
Yeah.
It's basically about the double standards. It's basically about looking over our shoulder and saying, well, how can you say that this is procedure when it comes to an officer? This is procedure. We go through the procedure, and then if we have to use deadly force, we will. But when it comes to black people, that's the only procedure you have. It's to use deadly force. When guys have committed just complete murder on just a bunch of people, you find a way to take his weapon and take them unarmed. But everybody who's black end up in a body bag. We got to start looking at it different.
Yeah.
Got to start looking at it different.
Yeah. No, I can agree. We need to start holding each other accountable. We need to stop holding that standard for ourselves, and we need to have some kind of standard that we can hold for everybody, because it has been going on for a long time. It needs to stop. I even, like, when I was a kid, growing up, like, even just around my uncles and shit, my uncles, like, they grew up, like, everybody was like redneck and kind of like racist and shit. So everybody was, they just grew up with a different outlook, you know, than the outlook that I had and the outlook that my mom had. Like, they would get mad at me for wearing my hat like a certain kind of way. Like, if I wasn't wearing it exactly straight, like a certain kind of way, they would tell me that I wasn't wearing my hat right and like shit like that. And then if I would bring people over that weren't white, they did treat them differently than a lot of the people that were white, whether they recognized it or not. Like, they treated them differently. And I don't know, man, it's one of those things where you just gotta, I think you gotta hold yourself accountable, but you also gotta hold the people that are around you accountable. Like, you gotta, like, we've been speaking too much, I think, as individuals. Like, I've been talking too much, like, I guess, with just saying shit like, well, me personally, and we should just kind of like hold each other accountable, versus just speaking for myself. Like, we should probably start speaking as a whole, since we're being identified as a whole. I think that maybe white people should that we should have somebody like speak and say something, because I haven't heard anything like being said about it. And I know a lot of people are in denial about it. They act like there's not really like much going on, and if it doesn't really affect them, or if it doesn't really bother them, then they kind of act like it's not something that needs to be concerned. Like, it's not something that they really worry about, you know. But I do know a lot of white people that are educating other white people, and they are letting them know what's going on. And not only are they like educating like just white people, but they educate anybody that has like a fucked up view. Like, if they got any kind of fucked up views, they provide statistics, they provide facts. They don't tell them their opinion, they don't tell them what they think. They just show them what the facts are. They let them decide for themselves, but they just present you with the facts and let you choose for yourself, you know?
So this was a question that was actually asked to me about us, you know, doing a podcast together. He's like, you know, what did Jake actually think about you when he first met you? Like, was it based off of like perception? Or was it really based on like me getting to know this guy and then finding out? Like, what was the perception of me when you first met me?
That's a good question. I'm pretty sure I was intoxicated.
You probably was.
Pretty sure I was intoxicated.
You probably was.
I don't know, man. I guess my first perception, or like my first, like the way I thought about you when I first met you, was just kind of like, well, I'm not really too sure about this guy. He's pretty opinionated. I feel like he's got like a lot of strong beliefs that don't necessarily agree. Like, because I remember when I first met you, you even talked about white people with me a lot, and I was just kind of like, well, like it didn't really like rub me the wrong way, but I looked at it like, are we really gonna click? And then we just started hanging out together. Like, it was one of those things where I wasn't sure at first if we were actually going to be friends or not. But it was one of those things where I kept going outside to smoke cigarettes. You kept going outside to smoke cigarettes. And then we learned about each other. And we just kind of like started talking. I think the talking is what opened us up to kind of have a friendship. And I didn't look at you like I didn't have any kind of preconceived notions or like any judgments like this guy looks like this type of person. It wasn't like that. I just looked at you like for what I saw, and I just kind of based a judgment based on what I saw. I was like, this dude's opinionated. I'm not sure if he likes white people or not. I guess I'm gonna find out. But you kept talking to me, so I was like, well, I don't have necessarily anything. I don't have anything against you. So I was like,
I guess with me, when I first met you, I just thought you was really naive.
Yeah.
And you had to do some growing up to do.
Yeah.
You really did. I think that some of the people that you were around,
yeah,
I didn't too much think that they were really good people. I may have talked about a lot of white and black situations when I first met you.
Oh, yeah.
But I think with that, I did a lot of that more of to see if you was informed what was actually going on.
Yeah.
Like, where's your mind that this is a guy that I'm going to actually hang with and be cool with, even though, we have really not too much in common right now. The only thing we got in common is that we both trying to start a video production service.
Yeah.
At this point. And then, I was a little bit older, so you're younger. And like I say, you dealt with some different type of guys. And, not to say anybody's name or anything like that, but you dealt with some interesting dudes, over the years. And I think with me, I saw how genuine you were as we started hanging out and starting to understand each other and finding out where we're coming from. I saw that you was a genuine person. But like I said, I thought you was really naive. You allowed people to walk all over you, and you wouldn't even really realize they were until it was too late. And a lot of times I think that I was trying to be more of a person of a big brother figure to talk to you, like, this is what's going on. This is how this person is doing that. And then I realized, like, that's not what you really needed. You needed somebody just to listen to you and understand where you're coming from, and maybe give you a little bit of advice on how to see it. And then we start really just kind of clicking. Yeah. And so as things progress, we start learning more about each other. So I was able to open up a lot more about myself in that, because I know when I first met you, I was really kind of reserved, and I was kind of like on some, like, this dude, I'm not gonna say his name, but I felt like he was whack. And then I felt like, you just run into the white guy because he's the white guy. He think he's better than everybody else. You think he shoot better than everybody else. We can shoot just as well as he can over here. And so it was a little bit of that.
Yeah,
it was a little bit of that.
And then we also kind of talked, and you realized that I didn't really think he could shoot.
It
wasn't like that. It was more of, that's my friend, that's somebody I grew up with. It wasn't like I was like running.
Well, no, not that. I'm talking about the other cat that came to you after he left Camera Boy. And he went over to you to start shooting things.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt like, dude, why would you go over there and you have two people over here that actually shoot? Yeah, and like, it just felt like, it was kind of like, okay, that's how we do things. Because I know that there are black people who feel like that just because a person is white, that means they better than us. And I never believed that. I always believed like we just have the same opportunities as anybody else. We just have to work twice as hard. And we have to we have to put ourselves out there. But the thing was, it seemed like that was an easy way for him to go to the white boy and just have him doing my work, and he's better than y'all or whatever like that. And as I got to know you, I felt like he's not even like that. He's just trying to make some money like anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I took a job. That's
all. You took a job. That's all it was. And so it wasn't even you. I was more mad at the guy who did it. Yeah. And so I think that's what really kind of opened me up a little bit more about when I talked to you and things like that. And I didn't have any, because like I said, I had my own preconceived notions and stuff like that, just because as a person, I'm gonna be honest about that. I really do. I mean, I got my hangups about things, but at the same time, I appreciate that you allow me to open up a little bit more and be more honest with you, and I can see that we're just human beings, and we all got problems and stuff. That's why it makes it hard for me to see some of these things, and I know that I have some white friends that are really good friends and really love me who I as a person. So it's hard for me to feel the certain type of ways that I be feeling sometimes. Yeah. But, and I got to work on that myself, and look at people as individuals too. Yeah. So it's not just on the white side, it's just even with myself to understand that everybody is an individual and we have to treat it as such.
Yeah. And we do got to start looking at it like that. We got to start looking at it like versus the whole, I guess, looking at everything like it's a whole and looking at everybody like they fit a certain stereotype or a certain narrative. We do have to get to know people. We do have to see who they are and get to know their families and kind of just like at least make an effort to get to know people. You know, I feel like a lot of the time we don't make much of an effort to get to know people that are different than us. And I think that we need to make more of an effort to get out of our comfort zone. I think a lot of it is because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to hang around people that are different than you. But it does help you grow. There's a lot of growth that is in that. So I think it's very important,
It is. And I appreciate our friendship and who we become. And so, I just look forward to many more years of dealing with you and doing more things and making jokes and making more shows. And we're going to have a bunch of them on here. Yeah. And so, if y'all, if y'all like the show, just leave it in the comment section. Tell us about it. Talk to us about it or whatever. We all have our ways of thinking and the way we feel about things. And like I say, we're open to hear about it. We're trying to figure out this thing together too, So try to work with us and we'll work with you guys. Yep. And hey, you know who you talking to. This is Kel.
And I'm Jake.
And you have been kicking it with Kel and Jake. Peace.